All right. Okay, we got 15 on so far. We could probably get rolling, I think. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to February 1st. This is the first day of a month of the year of 2021. So today we've got a few things to cover on our standard agenda, and the focus for today's showcase is actually going to be product. We're going to do a quick walkthrough because things are evolving so quickly and changing so rapidly that it's actually quite important that we all know what's happening. So I figured it'd be great to just go into the weeds and open up for Q&A. Because what I've actually observed is that on Saturday, every Saturday, we do a weekly Q&A with our community. And I basically walk through the product pretty much every single time, and we end up getting tons of great feedback. But it also starts to help to shift our direction in terms of what are the experiments that are working so far, what are the areas that didn't really work and we should stop doing. And I think as a result of that, a lot of our community members are like super on point with what's happening on the product. And then I realized, oh man, how do I communicate this to the rest of our team? So like I found a delta between familiarity. So this is the session that we're going to set up today to kind of go through that. And feel free to interrupt and ask any questions. But we'll also go through our standard stuff like, updates, goals, OKRs, and take a look at the roadmap too. If anybody has any questions or whatever, feel free to raise your hand on Google Meet. And we'll get started. So just a quick check, you're seeing only my web browser right now, right? Not the Google Meet screen? I'm trying to do a different approach here.
Yes.
All right, coolie. So what we'll do here is give a chance to introduce any newcomers to the team that haven't had a chance to introduce themselves. So just as a quick note for any new joiners, if you haven't yet, please do add yourself into the Leyline team roster so we can get a sense of everybody that's joined, their appropriate skill sets, how to best contact them, schedules, etc. And then we get to know how many people are on the core team. So I would love to say hello to Robert Dudus. Welcome to the all hands meeting. I would love to have you share a bit of your story, but Robert actually discovered us yesterday through the Knee of the Curve podcast, joined our Discord community and volunteered to help us out. And he is a rock star engineer and is very passionate about the kind of objectives, or rather the outcomes and goals that we have. So Robert, if you're comfortable, if you want to say hello, please do.
Oh, hi guys. So I was also named Gronky on your channel. That was actually my account name. I wouldn't call myself a rockstar engineer or anything like that, but the truth is that I have quite wide experience in terms of technologies I can use and things I worked with. So I was a tech lead previously, an architect, and also developer. I was working on Node, .NET, what else from front-end, little bit of React and JavaScript. I know those technologies. I just never was a front-end developer. I try to stay away. I just don't enjoy front-end that much. But everything regarding backend, especially data, streaming of sort, eventing, IoT, that's what I like and enjoy doing.
Thank you so much. And, Robert actually shared a ton of amazing insight regarding just the overall Leyline economy and how it can evolve. So I think you've got some amazing ideas that I think is going to enrich a lot of our thinking. So I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you, Robert. Who else hasn't introduced themselves yet? Hugo, have you had a chance to say hello to everybody? I'm not sure. Can't remember.
Hey, no, not yet, I think.
All right.
I'm in London. I'm a full stack developer. I've been working on web technologies for about 10 years. Mostly .NET on the back end, and I've done some Angular, React, and TypeScript, JavaScript stuff on the front end. That's me.
Thank you, Hugo. I'm trying to see who else who's that hadn't introduced themselves yet. Karim, have you had a chance to say hello? Or Steve Silverstein?
I didn't say hello, but I can. Hello, I'm Karim. I was back an engineer in .NET, doing some Angular and front end with TypeScript and stuff. Rarely hands-on recently, but happy to get my hand dirty for a good cause. So here I am.
Merci, mon ami. And then Trevor, just wanted to check, did you have a chance to introduce yourself last time? I can't remember if you were here or not.
No, I wasn't actually.
All
but I
right,
can.
Trevor. Yes.
Well, hello. My name is Trevor Johnson. I'm actually a student ambassador. I'm located in northeastern Indiana, so that's kind of where I'm from. I do a little bit of everything, from marketing. Recently started working with some CRM stuff, and then esports as well. So kind of a all-around type thing when it comes to that side of it.
If you got a chance to catch our little one-off call-out thing that we did on Friday, went very well for our esports and our student ambassadors. So Trevor did an amazing job there. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job. The entire esports pod and the student ambassador team. Well done. I could feel the energy, and it's just beginning, guys. So great job. Thank you so much. Okay, I think that might have covered all the newcomers. So welcome again. We are getting a lot of momentum, guys. It's going to be very interesting to some of the stats I show you today. Okay, so focusing in on goals for the week. So our game plan has not changed from our execution plan. If you remember the past couple on hands meetings, our core priorities are really about building a product, investing in our community, and raising funds. So all of our activity needs to be focused on these key activities. If you find you have to make a decision between doing one thing or another, it's got to be focused on product, community, or fundraising. And I'm going to go into more detail around some of the things that we can focus on here as I go through that. So I'm going to skip a bit of the granular details here. I'll also save the roadmap walkthrough until after I do a bit more of the product walkthrough. And there is a quick note here that we haven't filled up our key beats calendar for this month. So I'd love to chat with the community and marketing team to start to see what we have planned for this weekend next. We do have stuff lined up, but it is not necessarily there. Yes, Eugenia, every team hopefully should plug in some items into there. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into OKRs, and let me pull up the right screen for that. All right, cool. So every week we are pulling stats to track our objectives and key results, starting with the impact that we're having, the growth that we're seeing in terms of users and their sentiment, and other key KPIs. So the message for today is that we are growing, which is good. So our target to goal here is actually for Q1 2021. So basically the end of March. So we've got 2 more full months to go to try and hit these targets that we've set for ourselves. And the good news is that we're seeing a lot of activity increasing on the product, which is great. So the amount of people checking in daily, checking in for sleeping, contributing to Boink, and also just claiming gift cards. So we're seeing like about 30 to 40% growth in these areas, which is great to hear. In terms of the raw numbers, this is also just proportional to the amount of alpha testers that we're letting in. So it is really key that we continue letting in wave after wave after wave of alpha testers, and obviously growing new users too. So we've grown about 80 users in 1 week, which is pretty nice, about a 5% growth here. And what you can see is that we're starting to get this network effect where individuals come in, but they have their own respective networks, and they're starting to pull in their other networks too. And yeah, so it's pretty much almost every day we're getting new people coming into the Discord, and it's rolling in and picking up steam. So I'm very, very happy to see the progress there. When it comes to fundraising, we have shifted our strategy from pushing to crowdfunding in early on to seeking investors and large donors. So we are making a lot of progress there. We've put together our pitch deck, which I walked through last week. We've been submitting it to a lot of different investment groups, angel investors, social impact investors, and VCs. We are getting a lot of responses and interest, but just know that these processes take anywhere from like 4 to 8 weeks to get from introduction to deal closed. So we've got about, less than 10 or so different like major conversations underway. We don't know how it'll play out because it also has to be a matchmaking scenario where the investor and their values, their approach needs to align with our goals and our values and approach too. So it's kind of like a bit of a dating game if you think about it that way. But what I do want to emphasize, though, is that our long game is really to focus much more on crowdfunding over time. But crowdfunding is only going to work exceptionally well if we've got a really strong and vibrant community. So it's really key that we're investing now to build that community because they're the ones that are going to ultimately support us in the long run. So the other stat I'll share here is just the Discord community stats because I was not able to pull or get the latest social following, but I could use some help there, guys, from the community team when you have a chance today. But yeah, we are moving. So we've grown another 80 users in the past week on Discord. So that's 21% growth, and we are 60% to target for the quarter with 600. I believe we're probably going to beat that, given the velocity that we're seeing. And we've got a number of like big network opportunities that we're going to be pulling in other big groups, particularly the NFT space that's got a ton of energy coming in behind it. So on Wednesday, we're going to be talking to that crew. So anyway, that's where we are on OKRs. So trend is good, but the reality is this stuff doesn't happen for free. Every single acquisition takes hard work and dedication and just grinding and supporting and listening and communicating. So there's no easing up, unfortunately. We just have to continue to drive awareness, to listen to people and to take their feedback constructively and react to that. I think that's, if we want to keep this momentum up, we've got to continue to invest in that area. All right, so that is some of our OKRs, and I'm going to jump over into product. Any questions while I switch screens?
We had a pretty good influx. I posted in chat from people that participated in the esports thing this weekend too. I had the team managers tell their team to sign up and spread the word between their esports league or family as well to do so. I think that's a good way to get some more users as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're finding is that it's now coming from all these different directions. Sometimes we do a podcast interview, sometimes an article gets released, sometimes like other passionate community members are just like, hey, listen, I'm going to tell my friends and my buddies about this, and then a whole surge of people just kind of swoops on in. And I think that's also part of an important piece of the experience. So when someone comes in, they've already put the effort to sign up for Discord, to join in, to introduce themselves. So it's also making sure that they feel welcome, that they feel engaged, that they're taken care of, that they're given a guide on like how to get started and how to navigate around. So that is a very big part of our responsibility in customer experience to bring people into the larger community and family. So yeah, please continue to spread the love, everybody. I know you're all great at that, but I just have to reinforce it. That's part of like who we are. Okay, so I'm going to do just a quick product walkthrough and just talk about where we are right now and what we want to focus on improving week after week after week. So, one thing I really want to emphasize is that there is a, general flow of how users are going to engage with Leyline. So after you sign up and get set up, the main thing here is that you should always kind of center around what can I do today that's going to improve the world, whether it's through myself, through my community, or through the globe. And the impact page really sums up all your opportunity. So, we early on started really with just volunteer computing as the core use case. And we proved that it works. And, what we ended up happening is that we became the front lines of BOINC in terms of customer service and user experience. And so we've actually had so much success there that the BOINC engineers and the BOINC committee and the program that's like running everything are actually actively participating and responding off of the feedback that we're able to give over to them. So that's been great so far. What we did learn, however, is that there's a lot of friction to get started here. So in order to actually start earning Leyline points through BOINC, it's actually a lot of steps. And there's a lot of questions to be answered because it's a fairly unintuitive process. So what we try to think about is, okay, how do we make this easier? How do we make it such that people can get value out of Leyline faster and easier than trying to set up this whole configuration? And or if they don't have like a strong PC or just only on a laptop, they don't feel comfortable, they're kind of blocked from being able to participate in the ecosystem. So we introduced daily exercise check-ins and then eventually daily sleep check-ins. And the idea here is that we want to promote that individual wellness, but also the key about Leyline is that we want to give that feedback to say, you have made a difference. What you have done has resulted in something good in the world, whether it's for yourself or somebody else. And we want to make that easy. So the upgrade path here, or the heal up, is that we want to, one, give further information around, hey, you've been able to burn this many calories and help your health. But the way to do that is actually connecting to an actual fitness device where that information and data is already being recorded and validated. And so we incentivize connecting that device by doubling your Leyline points. So instead of just one check-in for 10 Leyline points, if you exercise for 3 hours and you have your Fitbit linked up, we'll give you 20 Leyline points for each of those hours. So you get 60 Leyline points. So that's the way that we want to try to increase engagement, little step by step, just tiny little increments, and then people just start to earn rewards. And they realize that this is a good thing for me because I can now redeem prizes for doing that. Robert, yes, you have a question or comment?
So I would just like to point that training too much may be not always beneficial. So we don't really want people to, to exercise for extended amount of hours just to earn Leyline points. So maybe we should.
It's true. I mean, like, we don't want like a Forrest Gump, like go run cross country situation going on, I think. But yeah, actually, one way to help balance that, Robert, is that we will set daily caps. So we could potentially tune it to say, okay, maybe maximum is like 3 hours worth of exercise because that's pretty intense. But what we'll want to do is listen to the community and to get some insight there. And I think also we'll see the data that comes in from these validated devices to understand, okay, what is the average amount of time people are exercising, and what are those big outliers, and is that something that we have to be careful about? So yeah, you're absolutely right. So we'll have to make sure we put some thresholds in place.
And probably diminishing returns could work as well.
Sorry?
The diminishing returns. So 10 points for first hour, 8 points for next one, something like that.
I love that. Well. That is awesome. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, that's a brilliant approach. So yeah, that's the idea, is that the impact page basically becomes this infinite scroll of all these different things you could do, because sometimes people won't have a Fitbit device to connect to. So what other activities can they do to basically earn that equivalent? And then more than likely we'll have a hard cap for each day because, one, we'd have to keep the Leyline points like fairly balanced. So we have to figure out what that threshold is. So right now we have a soft cap for the amount of Leyline points you can get through BOINC, for example. But if you combine, say, 17 different activities, what's that hard cap for that day? Because it just wouldn't be cool if somebody did 1,000 things and then took all the gift cards or all the prizes. So yeah, a lot of that stuff we have to tune, and the way we tune it is study the data. We have to capture the data, we have to analyze it, we have to report on it, and then run additional experiments and see how we can further balance the ecosystem. So that's the key. Is like you always have to start there by, let me do some good in the world, let me rack up some Leyline points. Once you do that, then now's your time to get your prizes. And so at the very minimum, so the most basic thing we could do is just say, here's a gift card, you can claim it now, and then get your money, essentially. So what's been interesting is that our top sellers have been Bitcoin and Amazon. These things sell out so fast, and I'm so glad we're here there. Thank you, Jamie, for replenishing these. But I can guarantee you these are not going to last long because people just love to claim that stuff. So it begs the question of, okay, if these are the only two things getting claimed, is there benefit in having this variety? Like, what are ways that we can incentivize people to just not focus in on only one value? And way back in the day, when we first started to think about the design, was that there was some randomization element at play. So we're going to try to experiment with that, at least with the non-fungible tokens. So our next priority for the redeem page is we want to be able to now say, okay, you hit this redeem button, you get your gift card, but you also get your non-fungible token. And the great thing about the non-fungible tokens is that Andrew, Christine, and the whole art team has put together amazing, amazing art pieces. So if you have not seen yet some of the amazing art that these guys have put together, go ahead and check it out on Google Drive, and you can see some of the different items that you can get that you can equip onto your avatar, or at least just have on your profile. You can see the avatars themselves, whether you're going to be a cowboy, cowgirl, cyber ninja, or a spooky suit, or superhero. All of these things are actually unique and beautiful pieces of art that already are collectibles and sell in the crypto space. So there's already a great value proposition that we've created. We just need to actually implement it and have it owned by the user. So yeah, check out the digital art here, because I think this is going to be a fantastic draw for many users, because it's already the case now. So what happens is now when you redeem one of your rewards, you get your non-fungible token. It will now then be in your inventory or on your profile. So the profile here is really your home base. So now think about this as your LinkedIn resume for the good that you've done in the world. So there is no solution right now that aggregates and quantifies all of the altruistic activities that you've done, let alone the items that you own and that you sold, the friends that you've connected with and their reputation. So there's a very powerful value in starting to pull together all of this data that is actually validated by nonprofits and organizations and like fitness devices. So that is a unique value proposition that we have on the profile now. And as you can see here, most of this is really just placeholder. We have not really evolved this profile yet and done a lot of fun stuff with data visualization with the good that you've done. So take one example here. With the computing power that you donated, this actually leads to a real impact. And what happens is that you are, one, helping to save scientists money because they can't afford Google Cloud Services or Amazon Web Services. Two, you are able to potentially speed up research because the amount of time crunching data is reduced so they can get the results faster. And then these researchers are now able to conduct their science, produce some white papers, and those white papers are then used to make some real breakthroughs, like creating a new drug to help prevent and treat cancer. These are the kind of impacts that we want to make visible to the user and say that you are awesome. You donated 1,392 hours of computing power, which saved a scientist X amount of thousands of dollars, which produced 3 white papers, which now also led to a drug discovery. These are the kind of stories that we want to be able to tell to an individual. And think about that, like when you're on your LinkedIn, doesn't it feel great to say that, hey, I helped to, cure cancer? Like, isn't that a great thing to have validated on your profile for real? It's not a self-reported action. It is something that another independent, trusted body verified for you. That is the value proposition that this profile gives you. And so this is very key because in the virtual world, and particularly for gamers, it's all about your digital identity. Who are you? What are your values? What are the things that make you awesome? And how do you show that off to your friends or to people that want to check you out? That is an important part of living in this virtual space, is your identity and how you represent yourself. So we want to make you fucking badass. Your Leyline profile should make you a hero in the real world and a hero in the virtual world. We're going to bridge that two together. So it's why we want to make these badass avatars, these badass items, these amazing pets and companions and banners. That is the world that we can create here. So profile is very important. And we also need to spend the time to really tune this and figure out how do we make this interesting, fun, engaging, and valuable. So that's the next focus for us, is we're going to be able to start to produce these non-fungible tokens, let our alpha testers own it and get a sense of accomplishment and a sense of reward. and reputation. So that's the focus for profiles. Any questions here? Thoughts, ideas? Robert.
So that looks like currently, because I don't have all of the data you guys have, but it looks a little bit speculative that it would be fun. For example, I'm gamer forever, and none of this is really necessarily that fun. But I know that people are changing now. The things which are not that fun for me, like for example, exercising a lot, is fun for them. But those are quite often fitness people more than let's say gamers. Though for gamers, I know that if they play some game, they really like items. Let's say if it's LOL or Smite, games like this, they like items for those games. Usually things which like skins for the little whatever gods, soldiers, whatever they're playing with. I'm not sure about on another side like Leyline, some kind of additions. If we were selling skins, then that could be a lot of value. I saw even myself. I went once after a skin to play some completely separate game, which I didn't care about, and I finished the game just to get the skin. So imagine that, So there are some very valuable items, but some other things may not be valued that much. So this concentration of specifics is very important, and kind of making sure that we are only focusing these things which really actually matters for them. Because I understand the variety. You can have like 10 different things and see what's working, but then it depends on the team size and how much time you want to spend on it, effort. So
Yeah,
I wonder how much is the speculation, how much is actual market research and
actually, Robert, this is great because I think this is where we're going to end up doing probably hundreds of experiments. And so this is very much placeholder. I think the engagement's really going to come into either collaboration or competition. So that's why leaderboards is kind of like this first stab at starting to put, a lot of the gamers mentality is like, where am I in relation to other people or to my other objectives? So the leaderboards are one way to start to say, okay, if I'm going to start to compete against others, where do I stand? And our first iteration was very just basics, just like, okay, what's the total, points earned across the entire network? But I think the key here is actually we want to make it relative to your social circles. So some key features we're going to have in place are friends and groups. Because now when you have your friends connected to you, it's really about, hey, how do I compete with the people that I know and that I want to kick their ass? Or, having something that's just much more tangible and emotional versus like, hey, here's Leyline CORCTI5. And maybe that's, interesting to see, but it's not as relevant for you. So friends lists and groups are actually going to be very, very important to build that incentive.
That actually makes more sense when we talk about friends and those circles.
Yeah. And this is the opportunity where it says, we could say, okay, you are in the top, 10 percentile of all the people in a network, but you are also number one in your friends group. And also your group is actually competing against 3 other groups, and you guys are the top of the stack. So we can start to create all these different small gamification competitions to start to, incentivize people to try and get to the top of leaderboards. And then on top of that, we can start to put timed events, like say every month, if you want to have this competition against 4 different groups, the top group will get, exclusive NFTs for this month. So that kind of plays into the whole competition side, and we can do a lot of like fun, crazy events and then focus on specific outcomes. Like, hey, maybe we'll do a computing power, marathon, or we're going to do like a walking marathon. So we can kind of pick any different activity, or like, hey, let's do beach cleanup day and see how many pounds of trash we pick up. So we could have a lot of fun experimenting with those type of activities. And then it kind of brings people together to, hit this achievement and really focus on a goal. On the flip side, we can also do collaboration events and say, all right, we're trying to, donate to soup kitchens all over the globe. And if we can hit this many donations, we unlock a global benefit for everybody in the Leyline platform, and everybody gets an NFT for this month. And there's this giant progress bar like on a homepage that says like, help us hit this goal. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can bring a gamification into just actually doing those good things. And to your point about getting skins for other games, that's also the secret sauce, where we're going to partner with all these different game developers and have them put their in-game items into the prize pool. And we try to aim for as much compatibility as possible, particularly in a blockchain space. So that's where like kind of comes full circle, where we gamify things on our platform. We partner with other games to put incentives that are, stuff that people are playing anyway, including like Riot Games. But the most basic thing is the fact that if you want to get skins from Blizzard games or Fortnite or whatever, like you could just do it here because we just bought the gift cards anyway. So that's kind of the thinking.
Imagine that if you join this platform, you get a skin, or if you get 5 of your friends joining this platform, you get a skin. I can promise you will get a lot of people very quickly if you do it for games like Smite or LoL. So I wonder if they will allow you to do it, but they probably could. But that would be a lot of people joining immediately, and your servers will be in trouble.
Yes, that is also true. Actually, those discussions are underway with some great publishers who I can't talk about yet, but keep your eyes peeled there. And your second point is absolutely scalability is going to be the underlying challenge we need to address now. So to give some insight, the first couple of months since we launched, we actually outsourced a lot of our development to an agency that was focused on blockchain. But because they were so expensive and we wanted to make sure we start to insource and create jobs for people in the company, we shifted out of that group, and now we're kind of rebuilding our engineering team, and it's why I'm so thankful you're here right now. But yeah, the key point now is thinking about scalability, security, sustainability, and performance. So not only are we trying to iterate on these like small incremental product features, but we also have to build that maturity into the platform and a foundation that's not going to fall apart as soon as like 1,000 people come in at one time. So yeah, that's absolutely essential right now, is to put that baseline in. So yeah, we're kind of reforming that group now, and we've got a lot of talent coming in, so it's quite exciting. It's going to be a lot of hard work though, so we're going to have to be pushing quite hard. And again, like the medium-term solution is that as we finish our fundraising round and are able to raise a good chunk of money, our aggressive target is about 6 million, and our absolute minimum viable like short-term fundraise is about 400K, which I think we should be able to get pretty easily. That's going to allow us to start to hire the full-time, architects, leads, etc., that can help really scale this thing exponentially. And related to that, there's actually a fascinating thing that's emerging now, is that because the message is starting to get out, people are starting to grok it, that we're getting this proof of concept working. We have more and more people interested in just joining and helping out in whatever capacity that they can, even if it's just a couple hours a week. So there's this opportunity for us to figure out, how do we mobilize this army of volunteers that don't necessarily have like a full 40-hour dedicated commitment here, but are able to pitch in as they can. So we are going to have a different kind of organization. Like I talk about this a lot, which is it's quite decentralized and fairly autonomous. So we need to invest in this core team that can help to provide that structure, the guidance, the protocols, the processes, where people can kind of jump in and pitch in, make a difference, and then plug out as they need to, so they could just take care of their day job and their current life. So that's a big focus of how we're going to continue to mature the organization. So yeah, lots of stuff going on for sure. Okay, and any questions? Robert, thank you. These are fantastic questions, by the way.
But then I have more of them, but that may be a little bit too big for this meeting.
All right.
At some point, I would like to understand the kind of Leyline money flow. What, who pays for lane lines, how the market can be, how it may
Sustainable?
happen. Yeah, so it has to be sustainable, but so you cannot have too many of those ley lines, or too much, or all those products which you sell, all the rewards, they need to be at the proper price. You mentioned already that some of them do not sell, so there needs to be some way of, without us doing something random, of influencing those prices. Basically, it needs to be based on some kind of real marketplace of sort, self-regulating one, and that is tricky, especially if you base mostly everything on getting charitable charities paying for that, or some companies like game companies. That might be very tricky at some point. Ideally, I would like to see us being able to get real donations from people. So let's say they paying for ley lines, and us investing this their money in something what can produce even more money. It seems a little bit, big game, but I would ideally like to see us promoting something like what I described in the
In a Discord
yesterday,
chat?
a trickle up economy of sort, where we can
Yes.
have something not UBI but real trickle up economy, and at the same time donut economics, which is basically take care of living in the donut shape, so we don't produce too much carbon dioxide, and so we don't destroy Earth. And at the same time, everybody has things to live, have jobs, stuff like that. So we could, if you promote this kind of economy, we could make everyone really happy and present a little bit of competition to governments themselves. Because
Yes.
people can start using us. If you could at
Yes.
some point introduce something like a credit card for our leyline points, we could just make people function differently and use the ley lines for everything. But if you have too many people, let's say from countries where, or basically people who cannot contribute anything, and they just want money to be shared, and we need to also control how many basically how much money comes into it and how much money is spread around. So taxes and this kind of ideas also comes into mind, what you can use this money for. And if you are not saturating the market of sorts, it's all tough, but I think this kind of going in this direction would be so incredible.
I agree with you, Robert. And I do say that is part of the end goal. And not to say that we replace anything, but rather we augment all these other services that are going to help people have a sustainable and safe and happy life. And I think we can contribute in a very big way there. And not only do that, but also, just generate and incentivize these good things for humanity, good actions. So yeah, there's a lot to tackle there. But to your point about sustainability and revenue, this was a fairly useful exercise in that Leyline actually has a number of very strong revenue streams that are lined up for it over time. So early on, we, as a nonprofit, we can accept donations, and, we're 501c3 pending. So people will be able to get a tax write-off as a result of their donation. So that will always be a persistent amount of funding we could bring into the organization. The second revenue stream are actually with sponsorships. So brands and game publishers and hardware manufacturers, basically anyone that wants to be able to communicate and reach our audience, which is going to be gamers, students, millennials, Gen Z, etc. They're going to want to participate and donate either in-kind value or cash into the prize pool. And they get a tax write-off for doing that. They get their PR value and a brand value and acquisition, etc. So it's a win-win relationship there. And as we get to mature and grow our user base, so growing from 60K to 1 million to 4 million, etc., I think it's based off a 45% year-over-year growth rate. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. What happens is that now these items are being crafted and are being traded amongst other people. And we have just very conservative estimates over what the value of those items will be. And what we can actually do is say, hey, listen, as part of this ecosystem, we're going to have these small transaction fees for the items that you've sold. And it'll be used to fund the operations and also to fund the prize pool. So that way, this becomes a, perpetual, revenue generating machine based off the volume of activity and traffic. So we just have to make sure that there's a lot of value in the NFTs themselves and a lot of utility, which will happen when we have this many people on a network. And then we can also just do straight up NFT sales. So this is like an option that we have. We could pull the trigger whenever we want. We just don't want to abuse that. So we're trying to keep a very conservative rate of how many, say, fundraising sales we're going to do. So if you take an example of, say like later this month in June, we'll be like, okay, guys, hey, we need to hire a, technical architect to help us make sure we scale and don't get screwed over. So please help us fundraise. We're going to sell a bunch of NFTs. And then if we can raise enough money, we can hire this person and just go to the moon. That's kind of the option that we have to just do very targeted specific fundraisers and have the community support us and or speculators that are just like, whoa, these NFTs are freaking awesome. I'm going to buy that and hold it because it might be worth something in the long run. So that's the opportunity that we have for generating revenue that kind of moves away from the donation model and sponsorship model, or rather it breaks our reliance on that. So, and then there's also just grants from foundations and from government that's going to help nonprofits like this. So there's a whole wide range of revenue we can bring in that can help fund the operations and then just continue to stack more and more into the prize pool. So that's kind of how we've modeled out the sustainability side of it. And it is what separates us from a lot of nonprofits, because most nonprofits actually don't have a sustainable revenue model. They have to just fundraise and beg for donations all the time, which is very hard to do, as I am experiencing right now. So yeah, hopefully that answers that part of the question. So there is a couple other things I did want to show you guys. One is, as we are continuing to experiment with all these different impact activities, the most useful thing we can do is actually let our community tell us what do they want to do. So the great thing here, and I want to give a big shout out to Bex and Pineapple and Nick for really putting together some of these like just rough experiments. So we actually have a Google form for anybody to say, hey, I wanted to donate and volunteer and do something good in the world. Can I earn Leyline points for that? And the answer is yes, you totally should. If you're going to do something good, let's find out a way to reward you for that. So at the moment, we have a couple of options here where if you want to donate blood or plasma, you can get 500 Leyline points. We try to make sure that people don't give blood too much and be unhealthy. So this is actually based off of the Red Cross's guidelines as well. So we're just making sure we're adhering to all those protocols. If you want to donate some goods, you can get 250 Leyline points. And if you just want to volunteer somewhere at a local soup kitchen or beach cleaning, etc. And what'll happen is that our users will submit this to us and say, hey, I did this activity. And then they just provide some kind of verification, either a receipt or a photo or some kind of way that we can manually verify. And now that we have the ability to grant Leyline points in our admin panel, so we could just basically say, okay, this person did a beach cleaning. Here's 50 Leyline points or 100 Leyline points for those 2 hours that you spent. And then that gives us data to say, oh, okay, we learned that this person did this. And, oh, they actually work with a specific organization. Let's reach out to that organization and say, hey, we're actually incentivizing a lot of activity for you guys. Do you want to partner up? Do you want to have some process in place where we can continue to drive users in your direction? And what we also have happening in parallel is that Alex is building out our iOS prototype. So we would have a mobile app that allows you to, obviously do their daily check-ins, but eventually we'll be able to do geolocation. So you can start to see, oh, you know what? Let me find a local volunteer opportunity that's near me. And oh, wow, there's a soup kitchen 5 miles away. I can totally do that and get some Leyline points. And that can scale all over the planet. So anyway, this is where we want to start doing these experiments to figure out what are the popular activities, what do people want to do, and how do we build those rewards? And then how do we implement that into the system so that's now on a platform? So that's the benefit of being able to just do a bunch of experiments and set up a bunch of Google Forms. So we're going to start to see that button here. So it's like, okay, if you want to do a blood donation, click this button, and then you're right on the the form. And yeah, it's hacky and it's like, not polished, but whatever. We just care about the user behavior and the activity and the data. and eventually we'll implement it onto the platform. And it'll just keep on going from there and there. And then every single day or every week, we'll just keep adding more cards for the partnerships that we line up. Any questions there? That could be fairly complicated. Or I might have just spoken too fast.
I've heard about manual checks, but you later said that you are going to replace it with some kind of talking to that organizations and basically making some system for them, so it might be not a manual process next time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the approach, is that, what we find is with a lot of nonprofits, they actually don't have budget or skills to invest in building their infrastructure and their systems. So to some degree, we may have the opportunity to actually help them onboard into using our APIs. And, we started off first with just manual verifications, but this is the beauty of being this open source project and having potentially, hundreds of participants and volunteers helping us out. So we could essentially set up a quest and say, all right, this local soup kitchen just needs an easy way to just click a couple of buttons on their side to verify that someone did it, and then hit our API, and then boom, we're done. So once we start to master that capability, we can scale that to any other nonprofit that we work with. And, these organizations are going to be like, this is freaking amazing. Like, you're charging me nothing. You're giving me a tech solution, and you're incentivizing and engaging and retaining all of our participants. This is awesome. So those are the kind of conversations we want to have. And we're going to have a lot of those all the time. So we're going to start to see some big momentum coming out of here. And I think there's a broader motivation model, because, we're kind of thinking about different profiles where there are people that are going to min-max their money, but there's also like the reputation, the sense of belonging, that sense of community. Then there's the altruism, which is like the sense of impact. But then for the money interested people, there's also that network effect. So when we have this critical mass and all these different partnerships and connections, it creates this utility and scarcity of the items. And actually that's potentially where like the value skyrockets. Because as we might know the case study of CryptoKitties, where these items are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars, that value increases from the utility and the usage. So that is one of the X factors for the ROI minded folks. And then a part of that longer discussion is where we want to really bring in economists, tokenomists, psychologists, PhDs, and start to set up these advisory boards that can really inspect the economy, the point systems, the value exchange. And, obviously we have to do the experiments and run the data. And that's another nice thing, is that because we've got these great connections in the academic space, we can ask for that help and just say, listen, we're going to provide a ton of value to your departments, your students. We could just use your help to say, hold us accountable, make sure we're making smart decisions here, and that what we are building is actually good for society and the economy. So I think that's the pathway for us. And, it'll take a lot of time for us to really build and mature that, and it'll evolve very rapidly over time.
Yeah, we could buy real things like wind farms even in the future with this amount of money. As you described, there is really a huge number of gamers. If they use their computers to generate real money, not like little money like we currently can give them, but a lot of money, we can start buying those wind farms, so the solar panels. We can generate good. We can actually change industry to be a green industry much faster than we currently do.
I love it. And we can make that happen. I believe it. And we're on the right track there. Okay, so the last thing I did want to share with you guys is, so as we are going to execute all the key features in our roadmap, again, our milestone is really to be able to get to the point where people love the product, believe in us, and are willing to refer their friends and family to join, because this is just a slam dunk value proposition. So we are continuing to iterate on the product, and one of the milestones for us is to implement refer a friend. So the concept behind Refer a Friend is that if you really love Leyline and believe that we can make this thing happen, let's have you refer people. And let's give you a bonus for doing that. So the first time you send out and have a person join Leyline and they earn their first 5,000 Leyline points, which is quite easy to do, you get your unique non-fungible token friendship bracelet and 450 Leyline points for both you and your friend. Then you can keep on referring more people, keep earning Leyline points, and at certain milestones, you'll unlock more and more cool NFTs. And you can only earn these by referring friends. So it creates this really nice incentive because right now people are already referring to friends and are not getting extra rewards for that. So we want to further entice that and also give people a sense of, wow, I got onboarded and I got some really cool stuff right off the bat. So yeah, we're going to be implementing that in the back end eventually. But for now, since we were a little bit slow on velocity, Pineapple actually created the Refer a Friend Google form. So one of our other community members, Ariel, already brought in like, I think 13 people. And he's like, hey, I refer a lot of people. Can I get a reward for that? Or it's like, okay, sure, because you're so awesome. So we're just going to be able to submit these referrals, and because we have the admin access to just grant the Leyline points, we can just keep track of it. So Pineapple and Bex, I think, will keep track of all those referrals, and once a week they'll just update to make sure people get rewarded for it, and it'll show up on your Leyline balance. And so yeah, I think we're going to find out if people believe and they want to share this thing. And that kind of brings us back to, we should also just be surveying our community and finding out what is their net promoter score. Would they refer this to a friend or would they not? And let's learn from that. If the answer is no, let's find out why. What will be the things that they would not want to have in place for them to feel confident that they could tell their grandma about this and they could tell their best friends. And that will tell us what to do on a product, because we don't determine quality of the product. It's our customers and our users that determine quality of the product. So the number one thing is always listen to your customers, always talk to them, always treat them with love and respect, and learn from them. I learn from them every single day, and I learn from all you guys every day. So don't be afraid to engage with our community.
Does that mean I get extra points for bringing in Bex and Cody? Do I get like
I
extra?
believe you should actually use that Refer a Friend form, Justin.
All right.
Why not, man? So yeah, you know what? And here, I know I'm running over on time, guys, but there is one other idea that popped up, because as we were creating that volunteer forum, Bex actually mentioned that, hey, volunteering at Leyline doesn't necessarily grant you Leyline points. And then it made me think, it's like, what are you talking about? We should totally reward people with Leyline points for volunteering at Leyline and building the platform of the future. And so to me, I think that's something we should just really get started. And I think we can actually accomplish that via the Quest system. So anybody that's like, you know, working on the platform and using Quest and they're going pro bono, let's just give them Leyline points for every hour. And then that's now on your digital resume, on your profile, on Leyline. That's freaking awesome. And now you'll have a history of, I contributed 10,000 hours of pro bono time to building the platform of the future and helping society. And I earned 100,000 Leyline points as a result. And, you know, you're actually one of our key users. And eventually that turns into your entire Quest database on your Leyline profile. So I think there's something very powerful there. And so it just kind of clicked for me over the weekend, and maybe we'll do an experiment there and see how it goes. If you guys are interested, I could definitely use some input, brainstorming, etc. All right, so we filled up the whole hour, guys, and I am happy to stick around to answer more questions. Oh, Robert, you're my favorite guy today. I love your input. What you got?
Well, I just wonder when can we talk about things like architecture, or if, you said that you try to outsource this to some companies which know blockchain, and in general this kind of problem. So somewhere where I could additionally, you know, put my input.
Yes, I think we'll probably schedule like a session this week. I already gave a heads up to Paco and Nico and some of the other crew, so we'll get a meeting in place. And anybody's welcome to join if you guys want to dig into the engineering side and architecture side. So yeah, we'll try to set something up for you this week, Robert, as well as like onboarding some other engineers too. So we'll kill multiple birds with one stone.
Great. Cheers.
Yep. All right. Anybody else got questions, thoughts, feedback? I hope this is helpful for you guys because as you can see, we've evolved very, very quickly and quite differently from our original product proposition, which is a good thing. This is the whole process of finding product market fit, where you have an initial idea of what you think you're going to produce, and then you bring it to market and you realize, oh man, we got to change this. So originally we're just like, okay, let's just build the fastest supercomputer on the planet, decentralized, and donate to science. That was the original like idea. And now it's turned into this entire ecosystem of doing good and building reputation and connecting all of these different causes. So we are evolving and in a very good way, and it's resonating. People are responding very well to that, guys. So I thank you all for the tremendous amount of work you put in, and like I said, we're just getting started. Yes, Robert.
Do you have more documents somewhere? Because what I've read already in your folders, it's very little, to be honest. It's it's like I couldn't even I could understand a little bit of what's there, what's supposed to happen. I watched some videos, but I would like to kind of go from the full picture, decision making stuff, why this is happening like that, why it should be happening, and in general everything, whatever is possible. I like writing documents myself, and I find this really useful to understand the full picture and then smaller pictures, and what's probably the most important for me, different kind of complexities project may hit at the various times, and because this helps me to plan and be prepared for eventualities when something may go unexpectedly. I just don't like unexpected, in anywhere in the time.
I love that. I love your engineering for your mind there. It's my favorite. But yeah, actually, we'll take that offline. And as we do the onboarding, I can walk all of the newcomers on the way we've set up our organization and our knowledge base. So a lot of it tends to be centered around Notion. So Notion's kind of it's our wiki, it's our knowledge base, and it's kind of our source of truth. And we do use other tools like, Google Docs and Sheets and Miro for our virtual whiteboards. But in general, all the things should kind of be centered around Notion as a home base. So the roadmap is a very, very key deliverable here, where you can kind of see, okay, this is what's happening over the course of time. As you go into each of the various items here, you can also see the wireframes, the product requirements documents, the tracking on Zen Hub, and also the whiteboards too. And you can also see our PRDs, which are the product requirements documents. So all the different concepts and product features, we tend to put together a requirements doc that kind of sketches out the goals, the objectives, the reasoning, the user experience, etc. So these are all evolving over time. So certain ones are at a very rough early placeholder stage, and others are much more mature. And then they change as we kind of iterate and experiment. But yeah, I'll set up we'll have a separate session there where I can kind of give you the full lay of the land. And we still got work to do to get these more centralized, organized, and consistent. But yeah, that's what we are currently working on. Great questions. Anything else, guys? I can also stick around offline for other Q&A as needed. Yes, Jamie.
What other, I see on all of the gift cards that I did put there, some of them are actually gone now. So actually, should I continue with variety, I'm guessing?
I think we do have a lot of variety right now. Maybe let's chat with the community. Maybe we'll run another poll and see what we want to do about it. But I don't have a great answer for that just yet. But let's talk to the community and see what the demand is.
Okay.
Because I do think there's something to check with insights, because a lot of people have and are holding a lot of Leyline points and they're not spending it. So I have a question: what are they waiting for? Because those gift cards are there.
I think also some people are just like not using it so that the testers can grab the gift cards instead of the people that work.
True.
Plus, there's that leaderboard, and every time I spend them, don't I lose my spot on there?
No, actually, we fixed
Oh
that
no!
now.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm
Uh,
gonna spend it.
Yeah, do it,
Got
man.
some Chipotle coming my way.
Yes. Yeah, so we're going to constantly iterate on that. And, that's part of the question is, okay, what is the motivation for you holding your Leyline points versus spending it now? And so, yeah, our internal team has racked up the most, obviously, because we started earlier. But the feedback we got on some of the Q&As were, they're waiting for Amazon. They're waiting for Bitcoin. Like that was pretty much the main feedback. Well, you know what? Like we'll see more diversity as we onboard more and more alpha testers because we're still fairly small right now because we just haven't like queued up that many people through the whitelist. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of growth this week for sure. We've got a number of community engagements that are going to bring in a ton of NFT enthusiasts. So that's going to be very exciting. So let's see how this week plays out.
Could you help me understand why we have people waiting still on that list? I don't know. I feel like I would love to get some of my friends really rocking and rolling, but I feel like, hey, go sign up at leyline.gg and then wait till who knows when.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In large part is because we have to be careful because if we let too many people in too fast, we can potentially have major performance issues, or we're going to introduce like a lot of bugs that we can't address fast enough, or we open ourselves up to more, the more people that are on your platform, the more there's like danger of like bad stuff happening. And then the other element too is that when you do it wave by wave, what happens is that you get a big influx early on. But because your product is like in fairly rough state and it's constantly iterating, some people end up like, getting too used to it, or they get complacent, or they just kind of drop off. So you want this like, influx of new fresh users that come in with a different perspective because like, others are have gotten used to it. Like even for us, we've gotten used to how the product looks now. So there are elements that are not polished or clean that a new user would be like, what the heck is this? And we'd be like, oh yeah, it just is what it is. So there's like value in making sure there's a good pace of letting people in and having some fresh perspectives. So that's kind of the the method to the madness there, Cody. But if you have people that are already excited and ready to go and like totally cool with an alpha build, just tell them to go into Discord and say, hey, Cody sent me, and we'll get them right in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of the approach right now is that
it's all who you know.
Yeah, and it's also like targeting people that are comfortable being early adopters. So, early adopters are much more like okay with bugs and slow performance and stuff like that because they're genuinely there to help the product become better or just getting early access versus people that you might invite that, are not as patient with that. They just want to like use a finished product. So you'll know best who in your network is going to respond most positively and participate and engage. And those are the folks that we want to target first and bring them into the community and like, have them participate because they'll feel very bought in and they'll feel like, loved and, celebrated for their participation. Whereas some people are just in it to say, all right, I just want to click my buttons to get my money, and they're not as interested in testing things out. So I think like you could use your best judgment there. And yeah, feel free. If you guys know people that you want to refer, we have a refer a friend program now. So you can get your Leyline points and your NFTs. Just saying. And you can do it retroactively if you really want to. Boogie, just for you.
Thanks, buddy.
Great questions, guys. Anything else before we call it a day? All right. Okay, this is going to be a big week, guys. We are going to be growing our community. We are going to have a number of events, and we're going to get we got a lot of people that are now joining the team and onboarding. So momentum is picking up, everybody. And I've got a bunch of, biz dev and sales calls and investor calls. So that's really where a lot of my focus is going to be. And it has to be until we get our proper funding. Things are looking positive. It's just going to take a lot of hard work and grinding on the biz dev team, but we're going to get there. So just stick with it. We're going to make this happen, and we're going to see parabolic growth. I see the light. I hope you do too.
Absolutely. That's why we're here, man.
Yes. All right. Have a fantastic day. Fantastic week, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Later,
guys.
everybody. Have a
Stick
great
around.
day.
See you later.
Bye.